The views expressed and the opinions given by their guests do not necessarily reflect those of the Odyssey Files hosts, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
This is Susan Slaughter from Paranormal Caught on Camera, introducing you to the most epic show ever, The Odyssey Files with David Soyering and Michael O'Neill. You're welcome. Pew, 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 pew.
Oh!
Kim, what are you doing?
Well, I'm telling Mike and Dave, it's time to get on the show.
Oh, well, the Odyssey Files starts now.
Good evening, paranormal community. It is 7 o'clock here on Monday, which means you are listening or watching the Odyssey Files. I am your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Mr. David Sawyer. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, Paranormal Universe.
What's going on?
I'm speaking to Paranormal Universe tonight because some of our conversation in hour two is going to be kind of going kind of that way, I think. So I'm doing a little segue early in the show.
You can't do a segue early, and you can't do a preemptive segue.
I just did. So it's a new move. It's a new move. We'll see how it works. I will say tonight, I did find you a good cat story. Took me a while. Well, it's not a great cat story, but it's a cat story, so it counts. But a lot of the questions are lengthy, so I'm just going to let you know now if you didn't look at them yet. Like a lot of the stories and questions have got like some girth to them tonight. So do mine though. I mean, we're both about equal.
Well, I'm just going to say then, for all of you who are listening, not live, when you download this off your podcast platform of choice, pause it, get comfortable, whether on the couch, whether in bed, pull the covers over, have a glass of water or whatever, a hot beverage, and let Dave and I, smooth you in for the evening.
I think so. Good stories. They're good. They're good stories. They're good questions. They're just lengthy. And I was gonna clip a few just because I was like, holy shit. Like these are like 20 paragraphs. I'm like, I'm gonna send these to Mike. I'm gonna send these to Mike and be like, dude, this is all I could find for tonight's show. And I was just gonna wait for your expression to be like, no, forget it. We're not doing the show. We'll just whatever. We'll just come up with our own questions randomly.
Yeah. It's so tonight, instead of the Odyssey Files, we are going to have adult story time.
Exactly. It'd be like a book reading.
Yeah, paranormal adult story time.
Exactly.
So like I said, tuck yourself in really quick. You need to pause the show, pause it, and then we'll obviously be reading long ass stories.
They're not horrible. They could have been a lot worse. They're not horrible.
I didn't say that they were horrible. So, I mean, I guess we'll see, because a good story doesn't matter how long it is.
That's right.
Because it keeps people, engaged.
That's right. And for hour two, we've got some good kind of in the news paranormal stuff to talk about.
Yes, indeed.
Definitely. And I got a couple of good ones. So yeah,
I definitely want to talk about the developments in Skinwalker Ranch.
Absolutely. Love that show.
The season finale is tomorrow night, so we're going to be building it up to see whether we're right or whether we're wrong about what could be going on. So, also want to just really quick. This has been announced. This was announced about like 2 weeks ago. Obviously, we were off last week for the 4th of July.
Yep.
And So the Minnesota Para-Unity Convention has been moved. New dates, new venue, due to circumstances beyond, unfortunately, beyond my control. But so the new dates is actually Halloween weekend, October 29th and 30th at the Eagan Community Center, which is actually extremely gorgeous. I think everybody is going to really enjoy it. Right now, we have Ken Boggle, Doug Hychek, and not officially announced, but kind of put into motion and finished this afternoon. Mr. David Schrader will also be attending the convention. So that will be announced officially here in the next day or two. Just got to wrap some crap up and actually have some time to do it, due to the fact that, I work 80 hours a week, 7 days a week.
Dave's a good MC. I like Dave for the MC. Like he's very personable when it comes to like crowd control and talking to big groups of people, stuff like that. So,
well, I don't know if he's going to be MCing. That's going to be up
okay.
to him. I'm not going to make him do it. I'm not even going to ask him to do it.
Shit, he does. I think he just does it because he enjoys doing it, because that's what he likes to do.
Yes, but he will be speaking every day. So each day he's got his own presentation to do.
Nice. So is he going to do like Hoser Files and then some other stuff?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I think he's going to have something different each day to bring to the table. I know he's really looking forward to it. So yeah, and good. We'll see as the weeks tap on. Who else will be attending?
One of the mystery guests will show up.
Yeah, that's it. So again, the only thing, if you want to keep up with that, mnparacon.com. But just to let everybody know, there is no longer going to be online ticket sales. All tickets will be at the door only. If you want to reserve tickets for will call, that's fine. You're still going to pay for them at the event. So that's a big change from everywhere before. But
yeah.
But that is the way I want it to be, and so it shall. Just felt like Al Bundy there. I have said it, therefore it will be done.
Therefore it is. Yeah.
Therefore it is. So, all right, since we have, I guess, a lot of reading to do.
Some lengthy stories, yeah.
All right, let's get right to them then. So, oh, for crying out loud. I started reading this story, the number one story, but I didn't read the title of it. So now that I have, holy crap, whatever. Anyway, all right. I'm
open
gonna
mind.
do it.
Open
all
mind.
Right. I'm getting in the mindset. This is story time.
That's right.
Everybody's tucked in. Everybody's ready to be
tucked in. Glass of wine. Right. Little cheese tray. Right. Little cheese and crackers going on. Right.
Well, let's just hope that your significant other is one of those. Is like, I wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers. So
exactly
with that. So here we go. My story with a possibly haunted tree. So here we go. So this happened over a year ago, and it involves multiple encounters. I'd love to hear your theories about what it could be. My friends and I used to take long walks at night. Almost every night, we'd go out into the city and explore parks, big and small, or the streets of the city. One January night, it was extremely foggy, and we found ourselves in this very creepy park. We kept walking in the fog, making jokes and noticing strange marks on the ground, which seemed to be made by something weird, like a dog being dragged. I don't know why you would know what that would look like, but okay.
Because they did it once. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, bound up a dog and dragged it across the ground. They're like, it looks like that time we stole the neighbor's dog and dragged it across the yard. Yeah. That's what
I'm saying. Weird, like a dog being dragged, but we made no note of it. I did take a picture, though. Of course you did. Why wouldn't you? Well, you sick F. So anyway, a while later, I spot something off the path. It looked like a signpost and decided to go to it. After further exploration, it turned out to be a tree with a lamppost right next to it, which is why it seems so distinctive. It wasn't a very impressive or creepy tree. It just looked like your run-of-the-mill average young tree. However, it seemed to call to me, sort of. It felt sad, like I need to be there for it and comfort it. My friends were calling to me, but I wasn't responding. All that mattered to me being there for this sad tree. After around 30 seconds, looking at my friends' scared faces, we decided to leave. It wasn't easy leaving that tree alone. It felt really sad, like I was abandoning it. But we had to go home at some point. This was my first encounter with the tree. Some months later, one of my friends from the first encounter and I decided to, again, at night, go look for the tree. But this time, taking our very spiritual friend with us, who always said she has, quote unquote, vibrations more in tune with supernatural entities, unquote. Anyway, we went to the tree, and I felt coldness from it. It was not happy. It would not harm us, because it's a tree.
But could follow it.
But it would not protect us if something did try to harm us. We heard a rustling sound from the path to the right of the tree, probably an animal or something. But then we all felt it at the same time. From the path on the left, something was coming for us. It was something sinister. The path was completely dark. My non-spiritual friend asked, "Do you guys feel that?" I replied, "Yep, something's coming." And my spiritual friend said, "Yes, yes, yes. Let's leave now." And we all hightailed it out of there. The spiritual friend said that we shouldn't go back to the tree and that it feels like some kind of portal is there or a connection to something or somewhere supernatural. The last encounter with the tree, we decided to go, the original 3 people from the first encounter. But this time, taking my now girlfriend, whose mother had prophetic dreams and was now also starting to have prophetic dreams. I think their girlfriend is having prophetic dreams, what he means.
I think that's what that means, yeah.
Yeah. We got there and the tree felt silent, like it wasn't there anymore. But the place itself felt odd. My girlfriend felt unsafe and we left. She also said that it felt like a portal and advised me never to go back and never mess with these things as they shouldn't be messed with. And that it's possible that the tree or whatever entity is in or around the tree is trying to lure me into helping it. I have not been back since. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. What could it be? Okay, goody. As I was reading this for the first time, I honestly, the only question that came to mind is, are you high?
No,
literally.
I don't think so. I think there's something going on here.
I'm not done with mine yet, Dave.
Oh, I know. But I think it's funny that you said he's high.
I'm just saying, because that's what happens to people who are like, dude, this tree is calling to me. And he's just like sitting there, like staring at it. And it just reminds me of somebody who is really high and is completely, I don't want to say obsessed, but like absorbed in whatever they're looking at.
Right.
But yeah, he didn't say, my friends and I smoked a lot of pot and then went out for long walks, even though I think that's just given. So anyway, I feel like there should be a poem written, because he's given like a lot of alliteration to this tree. Like, it felt cold. It's not going to protect us. It's an effing tree. Okay. It's not Treebeard. It's not a harvester of the forest. It's not going to get up and start walking around and, smacking people around. It's a tree. I get the feeling of it, but it's a tree. Okay. Don't forget that. Nobody forget that. It's a tree. Has anybody forgotten that yet? Have you forgotten that, Dave? It's a tree.
Nope.
Okay.
It's just a tree.
It's just a tree.
So a young tree at that.
A young tree.
Right. A young tree. Right. So it's not like it's a giant. It's not a redwood. or a gigantic oak tree. It's a young tree, so it's just I'm assuming a diameter about like that big, and some leaves and a nice crown. Right, nothing special, just a tree.
Yep. Well, maybe that's why it was feeling so sad, because it had
it was the small little guy syndrome. All the rest of the trees were big.
Yeah, it didn't have very high self-esteem. So, I guess that happens with trees sometimes.
Maybe.
So I mean, a couple people felt there was a portal there. I guess my question is, had that been discussed previously? Did you, with your girlfriend especially, say, "Oh, my spiritual friend thinks there's a portal there"? So did you already put that idea in this person's head before you went out? So honestly, what I think it was a tree. I think, I'm not saying that the land in which you were on doesn't have some sort of history to it, doesn't have, something going on with it. All I'm saying is that this tree is a tree, and I don't think the tree had anything to do with nothing. But, is there something buried underneath the tree? I mean, is there something else going on around the tree that made you feel that way? And you just issued that, all those feelings to the tree.
Right.
And so obviously I would need more information as to what possibly could be going on, like where it is, that sort of thing. I would do research on the land to see if anything bad had happened to it, or on it, I should say, that would give that sort of a feeling. But to the tree itself, it's just a tree.
Agreed. By the way, short little digression here. Did you see season 2 of The Witcher?
Yes.
Okay. So you remember the episode where the guy got stung by the wicked tree, and then he turned into that tree monster when he was in The Witcher's thing? So that kind of popped into my head while I was looking at this, and I'm like, well, maybe there's more to trees than we understand. But I digress. If you haven't seen The Witcher, if you're not a fan of The Witcher, you have no idea what the hell we're talking about. If you like The Witcher and you've watched season 2, which I thought was an excellent season, and hopefully they're going to make another season, then you'll know what I'm talking about with getting stung by the kind of cursed tree. But anyway, what I think it has absolutely nothing to do with the tree, but I do think there's something going on with the land. And I think this guy is somewhat sensitive. And for some reason, he's focusing on this tree, which I don't think it's the tree at all. I don't think the tree has anything to do with it at all. The only thing that could possibly be, in my opinion, would be maybe that was a conjuring circle. Maybe that was a sacrificial type of something happened on that spot. You know what I mean? And the tree was planted there, or the tree grew there. But it's not the tree, it's the land around it that is what's causing whatever he's feeling it to happen there. I'm with you. A tree is a tree is a tree. When he said the tree's not going to save him, when I first read that, I was kind of like, okay, I get that, right? I mean, unless the tree's going to give its life and like snap off and like break and fall right on top of whatever was there. I think if you feel something uncomfortable in the area, I think that it's probably land based, is what I'm going to say. So I think it's more of I don't know. Who knows? Who the hell knows? Somebody got hung there back in the day. Witch trials, Old West, Native American massacre. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but something happened there that caused a stain on that land, I think. And for whatever reason, this person's, like you said, this person is putting it on this tree, which I thought was kind of funny, but I kind of like the story. I kind of like the question. I like the story. It's different. It's not anything that we've really kind of talked about before. So I'm kind of like, well, haunted tree. I don't know. Let's talk about it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of with you. I'm with you on the it's happening on the land. Something's wrong with the land. You know, it's just off. There's something off about the land. And I'm sure if we went there, I would tell you the exact same thing. I'd be like, yeah, something here doesn't feel right. You know, I feel weird or whatever. Whether we could record it or not, who knows? But I'm sure I'd probably feel it. So, all right. Anything else on that beauty of the bark that haunts?
Nope. Oh,
right.
Jesus, mother of God. No.
All right. Number 2. This is better. This is better than the first one. The trailer my roommates and I live in has some sort of entity, and it recently stepped up its game. So, since late last year, my roommates and I have been experiencing paranormal occurrences in and near our trailer. The following is a list of said events in order of occurrence up until last night. One roommate saw a deer on the side of a sketchy road whose intestines had been removed and shaped into a pentagram. An upright cross of skinned mice appeared on our porch. Both roommates started seeing the same 6 deer in a field down the street every time they would have an argument. Each time they saw them, they got closer to the fence line. We came home one night to sigils on every mirror in the house, 5 in total. We couldn't figure out what they had been drawn with. It was closest in consistency to a gel highlighter. We go out one night and climb a hill of dirt for kicks made by construction workers. Despite living there over a year, one of my roommates doesn't remember seeing it being made. It's about 12 feet tall and steep on all sides. We get to the top and find a road with flat top that stretched out for a lot longer than we originally thought. We walked all the way to the end, expecting there to be some sort of down ramp, only to find it steep on all sides. As we're walking back, I shined my flashlight on the pathway, and there were hoof prints the size of my hand heading towards the end of the pile. We're still going here on the occurrences in order. My green stick candle, which I have never lit, that I have in my money jar, had been burned. The wax was all over a pack of razor blades I had sitting out, with the razors removed from the pack. Okay, so there's your list of what has happened in order. We've also seen faces outside of our windows on several occasions. Other things often disappear and reappear in places we've already searched. So there's that bit. Last night we had our lizard, who is 5 feet long, roaming around the trailer. It's a big lizard. It was storming outside. This comes into play later. I got up to put him back, only to find out that he was gone. We spent the next 20 minutes searching the trailer and every possible space for him, to no avail. There's no access point for him to get outside and no hiding space small enough for him to evade us. He just disappeared. We all sat down in the bed to try and figure something out when we hear what sounds like his claws on the hardwood. Only the sound would jump from place to place until it was like everywhere. My roommate then said, "At least there's no scary thun," and that was interrupted by surprise thunder. We all went to bed eventually. I think that just happened. We all went to bed eventually because we were tired of this shit and hoped that the lizard would be back in the morning, which he wasn't. On top of that, I took my dog out this morning and a tree branch fell directly in front of her face. The timing of that is difficult for me to write off as coincidence, especially considering I took her out several hours later than I usually do because of the rain. This is the first time it had ever directly interacted with a living thing. So now we're talking about it. They're using the word it as some sort of entity. Up until now, it has never attempted to hurt us or our pets. None of us are versed in this intense of a situation and are now at a loss. We have nowhere to move to, and finding information on banishing whatever this is extremely difficult. The lizard showed back up. He was inside his enclosure, that we legitimately took apart and put back together to make sure that he wasn't inside, and it has remained closed since. Do either of you have any solid advice for us? Thanks. Okay. They can't move. They said they can't move. So my first piece of advice, though, would be to move. I'm just saying, right? If honestly, if that much shit is happening, right? It kind of reminds me of, and the case that I asked you to help me out on, that didn't even, I mean, there was some weird shit going on there, but that was nothing compared to like what's happening at this trailer. Like this trailer is off the charts. So my first piece of advice, obviously, would be to get the hell out of there. Find someplace else. Find a trailer on a couple of acres, whatever. Trailer park, I don't care. Just find some place to get the hell out of there and get some fresh air under your feet. That would be my first piece of advice. If you cannot move because financial constraints don't allow you to, or credits, whatever the problem is, then I would say, depending on whether or not you are religious, that that you should start taking some action towards that, whatever you believe in. You should take action towards that, whatever your rock of Gibraltar is, so to speak. So if that's God, if that's Jesus, if that's Allah, if that's whatever it is, if that's where you need to go, if this is what's happening, that's where you need to go. It's kind of weird. So a 5-foot lizard, the only thing I'm thinking that could be a 5-foot lizard that you would have possibly own would be an iguana.
Yeah.
I can't think of another, like a Komodo dragon. You're not going to own a Komodo dragon. It'll kill you at night and eat you. Right. So it's probably going to be an iguana, but that's a big damn iguana, right? 5 feet, their tails. So assuming the body's probably 2 feet, the tail's probably 3 feet, because that's the way iguanas are kind of built. But that's still a damn big iguana. And to lose a 5-foot lizard to where you can't find them seems weird, like shit's disappearing and then reappearing. So something's messing with you. So I'm not really sure if this is paranormal, like ghost-wise, or if this is paranormal UFO-wise. I'm kind of torn between the two. The sigils on the mirrors, somebody had to be in the house. If those truly were on the mirrors, somebody had to be in the house. Something had to be in the house in order to create that. The road thing, I can kind of envision that in my mind. That seems kind of off. Like they just piled up a bunch of dirt because they're doing excavation. And now that I said that out loud, maybe that's part of it. Maybe the excavation, maybe they dug somewhere they shouldn't have. I don't know. It seems like there's a whole lot of weird shit going on. The whole mouse cross thing caught my attention. That's the first thing that caught my attention when I was reading it. I'm like, there's a cross made out of skinned mice on your porch. Okay. Some shit is going on. Either you got some really weird neighbors, like really, really sick, weird neighbors, or there's something extremely odd happening. And I'm not going to say it's demonic because I don't think it is. I don't think it's whatever's happening here. I don't think it's demonic, but there's something weird happening here, taking it at face value for all the stuff that's happened to him. Could be UFO. I don't know. Maybe they skin mice. Maybe that's a new trick. So I don't know. That's all I got. I would say move. If you can't move, find your piece of your Rock of Gibraltar. Use that as your focus point. try to cleanse your property, get whatever's there away from you, even if that means temporarily moving it on to your next door neighbor. And I say that obviously with a grain of salt, because I don't mean that. Because I don't want your next door neighbor to start suffering. But if it's that if things are that bad, send it wherever the hell it's going to go. And if it's going to go to your next door neighbors, then at least you have some experience with it, and you can go to your next door neighbor and say, you know what, we had this kind of same weird shit happen, and let me help you. Or let me try to help you.
That okay, so that last little piece of advice is send it over to the neighbor's house, and then when they start suffering, walk over there like you're not the one that caused it, and be like,
no, I didn't say that.
Let me help you.
No, I didn't say you didn't cause it. I said we've experienced it already. Let me help you.
Well, right, but the whole reason it's over there is because you sent it there.
Well, technically, yes. But I thought it was funny. But these guys, this however many guys are living in this trailer. It sounds like there's more than one. Obviously, there's multiple people living in this trailer.
It sounded like 3.
Yeah. Okay. So 3, right? So it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath trailer, single wide. I'm just saying, get it out of your space. Hopefully it doesn't go to the next door neighbors. Hopefully it goes away. But if it doesn't, and it goes to your next door neighbors, at least you can offer some consolence and some type of help.
Right. So, okay, here's my take on this. I like the story. It's got a whole bunch of different shit to it, including stuff I don't think are paranormal at all.
Right.
Like the deer in the field. We see the same 5 deer every time they have an argument.
Yeah, right.
That's not paranormal.
And 6 deer. But the weird thing is they were noticing, like, every time they argue, they're closer to the fence line. Okay, they're just grazing. That's what deer do. They graze, like a cow. So they're not afraid of you, obviously, because it's not hunting season. Right.
So, the thing about this is, you had mentioned the fact of, the excavation, maybe that started to drum up some stuff.
Maybe it did.
If that's the case, then the neighbors should already be experiencing it.
The whole
area,
the whole area should be experiencing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the other thing I don't think is paranormal at all is this excavation. There are times literally where I drive past the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, or, a couple times a week. And then all of a sudden I actually look at it and pay attention, and it's completely different from what I remember. And I don't remember anything happening before and then now. So, I mean, the fact that one of your roommates was like, I don't remember this ever being excavated. It's just because you're not paying attention. It happens.
Right.
It happens all the time. So in a big pile of dirt, that's how they work. They they put a big ass pile, and then they have an excavator roll over the top of it to scoot it down, and that's what you get.
Mash it down.
Yeah.
But usually
there's nothing paranormal there.
Well, I'm just saying though. So I'm going to jump in here for a second, because usually, especially like when we had our last house, and then and in our development, because we were the Parade of Model Homes. We were the 6th house in the 199 house development. And then the next development that was just would have been just west of us, there were supposed to be 89 or 90 homes in there, and there were only 2 that were model homes that were built, and the rest of it was all kind of torn up and like that. We took our 4-wheelers in there all the time and went 4-wheeling, riding all the time. But what he says is he expected to see some sort of down ramp where like a big piece of machinery would come up, and get on the top of that to make it flat. It doesn't make any sense to me that a big piece of machinery could get up there somehow, make it flat, but then still have it like drop off sides. I don't see that happening. So something, if that's true, and we always take these with a grain of salt, but we take them at face value when we talk about them. If it's true, I agree with the person who's experiencing this that there should be some sort of ramp that goes down that a big piece of construction equipment would come up and like mash down the top of the pile.
Maybe they missed it. I mean, it's dark. They
could be right. They had their flashlights, right? It was dark out.
But either way, the dirt pile is such a small part of this. So,
unless that is the whole center of the activity, is because they excavated something and something's in that dirt pile. Native American, old cemetery that was unmarked. I don't know.
Right. But
witch burning site. I mean, who the hell knows?
Well, right. But we don't have the information in order to.
So we're just guessing.
Right. So the basic fact of it's your friend that found, or your roommate that found, quote unquote, found deer with its intestines cut out on the side of the road in a pentagram. That would also make me think that he or she, it doesn't really give the sex of the roommate. I'm just going to assume that it's he.
I'm going to assume it's a bunch of young guys is kind of my gut feeling. Yeah.
Right. Would have had to have stopped and look.
Got out and checked it out. Yeah.
Right. And which makes no sense as to why you would do that, because people see deer on the side of the road all the freaking time. And then you had.
I would stop.
Why?
Well, because you're right. I do see deer on the side of the road all the time. But if I saw a deer that had been kind of looked like it had been gutted, I might stop. I mean, I probably would. Better than 50-50, I would stop. No. I mean, it just depends. Like if my kids were in the car and we were late for going someplace and we were late, would I stop? No. But if I was all by myself and I was heading home, would I stop? Probably. I'd probably stop and be like, why is there a dead deer that's gutted on the side of the road? I would probably stop.
Yeah, you would.
I would, because I'm a deer hunter. So I'd be curious as to why there's a deer that's gutted laying on the side of the road, because the only way it's going to have its intestines out is if it's gutted.
Well, right. So you're a deer hunter. You're also old enough and experienced enough to know what a gutted deer looks like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So a young guy, which I'm assuming,
right, who doesn't hunt, would not stop, probably.
Right. So, but he did. Then you have skinned mice on their porch, sigils on their mirrors.
Right.
So I honestly think I'm saying that there's stuff going on there. I mean, there's just too much shit that I think they're taking certain things and making it paranormal that isn't.
Right.
But there is definitely shit going on, especially the lizard.
Right. That's weird.
That is weird.
Right.
However, I think one of these roommates is responsible for it. I don't. They're either responsible for it or they're the target of it. These are very, very, very specific things to them. Like, it's not like 3 of their neighbors got these crosses, or they got word of, 7 different trailers. They came home with sigils on them. Like, it's targeting them. So so one of them is either the cause of it or one of them is the target of it. And either way, one of them knows more than what they're saying. Because
I can see that.
I have had curses put on me, or at least tried to put on me. I know who did it. I know it was done.
I know who did it too.
It's not one of those who would do something like that.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff going on here that doesn't make any sense unless one of those roommates knows more than what they're saying. And
I can see that, and they're just afraid to talk about it.
Well, it depends on which side they are on. If they're the target, I agree with you on that one, because they'd be like, well, if I tell them,
if they're young males, right? Like, I'm going to get kicked out. I got no place else to live.
Exactly.
Right. We're already 3 of us renting a trailer when we could barely afford to live here. We can't afford to leave. Right. You're going to keep your mouth shut.
If one of them is the cause of it, then they're probably getting their rocks off watching everybody else
kind of suffer and freak out.
Get freaked out and everything.
Right.
Either that, or that person doesn't know what the hell they're doing and then set something in motion that they had no flipping idea.
So possibly like Ouija board or black magic or something along those lines.
I'm going to go beyond Ouija board here. I'm going to go black magic. I'm going to go satanic worship, witchcraft. There's something far more sinister here than just who's talking to me. Come and chat. So
maybe the guy who stopped and found the deer actually gutted it himself and made the pentagram, and then just said to his roommates, "You're not going to believe what I saw," and then took a picture of it, but he was the one who actually did it.
It would set it in motion.
It would set that would set it in motion, right? I agree with you if that happened. And my mind didn't go there until you just said that. So that's why the show is so goddamn good.
Yeah, that's it.
That's exactly what it is.
So
we feed off of each other. The skinned mouse cross, though, that's just effing weird, man.
I don't know.
I got no answer for that, but I see where you're going. I see where you're going. I think I agree with you. I think something's going on. I don't know if it's because of the excavation. I don't know if it's because of one of the people who live there. I don't know. Without more information, I mean, this would be a great case to take on if it were like something local.
Mm-hmm. Well, since we don't know where exactly it is.
Right, so. Exactly. I'm just saying. But it would be a great case to take on if it were local, because there's so many different strange things being recorded. It'd be good to get through the bullshit and find out exactly what is the culprit of what's making everybody so scared and uncomfortable.
Right. All right. Well, that's all I have for that one.
Me too.
All right. Moving on to the Australian Skinwalker. I'm from Australia, and when I was 8 years old, my family lived in a house off the Pacific Highway. It backed off to bushland and quite a large backyard. I used to play outside all the time because of this. One day I was outside as usual and heard my mom call my name, so I ran inside to see what she wanted, hoping for lunchtime. When I got there, she was busy washing up. She said, "Where are you off to in a hurry?" She had been watching me from the kitchen window, which overlooked the backyard. I said, "You called me in." She said that she had not called me and that I must be imagining things. I just thought she was messing with me at first. I said, "Come on, Mom, why'd you call me?" She stopped what she was doing and looked down at me and said, "Sweetie, I didn't call you. Maybe you just heard the neighbors yelling and it sounded like me." I was adamant that it was her. It sounded exactly like the other 100 times she'd called me. I started to get a little grumpy and said it was definitely her. She told me to go back out to playing and that lunch would be ready soon. The next week went by as normal until one night I awoke to a tapping and scratching noise. I looked around. When my eyes adjusted to the light, I couldn't see anything in my room, so I just assumed it was an animal on the walls or roof. Possums quite commonly come into the house for warmth and to nest in Australia. So I tried to go back to sleep. Possums commonly come into the house.
I saw that too.
What?
Yeah. Well, it's Australia.
Okay. I got it. Okay. All right. Anyway.
Like 3 or 4 of the top deadliest things that will kill you in a single bite live in Australia.
Awesome.
Box jellyfish is for sure one of them. There's a spider, and then there's for sure one snake, and there's something else. But there's four of the creatures on the planet Earth that will kill you instantly, like 30 seconds. They're like, one of the things I was reading is like, if you don't get medical attention within like 30 to 60 seconds, you're not going to survive. I'm like, who the F is getting medical attention in 30 seconds after getting bit by a spider in bed while you're sleeping? Oh, ow! You know, and you jump out of bed and go, oh my God, I got bit by XYZ spider.
And you're dead.
Yeah, and then you make it to the living room like, shit, hon, get me a beer because this is it. I mean, it's over. I mean, I'm going out with a smile. I'm not, I'm not going to lay here suffering. Might as well grab me like some. You got any like good food? Some brisket? Do we got any brisket? Brisket and a cold beer. I'm out. Yeah.
All right. Anyway. It went on for what felt like half an hour, so I looked around again and listened closely to the noise. That was when I saw something in my peripherals at my window. I gazed over and saw what to this day still gives me nightmares. I'm 26 now. It was a thin figure about 2 inches wide. It had elongated arms and fingers, all black and white eyes. It was tapping on my window while staring right at me. I stared at it for a moment, not believing what I was seeing, thinking I must be dreaming. For some reason, I just felt like it was toying with me, like it was saying, I'm coming to get you. Fear overtook me. I stuffed my head under the blanket and screamed as loud as I could, Mom! I didn't stop screaming and didn't hear my mom come in, but when she grabbed the blankets and to see what was wrong, I jumped back, thinking that whatever the hell was outside my window had got in. She asked, what's wrong? What's wrong? I pointed over to the window and said, that. It was gone, and she asked me what was it? I explained what I saw slowly as I was trembling and could barely get the words out to describe it. She said I could come sleep in her room. I didn't get any sleep that night, nor the next few nights afterwards. I can still see the image in my mind as clear as the night it happened, 18 years ago. It still has made me afraid of the dark. I sleep the lights or TV on still. I've tried to rationalize it. I've tried to find answers in paranormal sightings, folklore, and Dreamtime stories. I thought it acted much like a skinwalker does. However, we have no tales of those in Australia. The closest thing to that here is the bunyip. Never heard of that. Gonna have to look that up. A shapeshifter that lives in billabongs and attacks passing travelers. Well, there are no bodies of water nearby, so I could also cross that off. I've thought maybe it was all in my head, that my mother was right, just my imagination. Yet still, the image is so strongly imprinted in me, as is the voice. I had no idea if it was real or if it was something trying to lure me away. Do you guys have any suggestions on what I might have seen? It's not a skinwalker, that's for sure. So, I think he might have miswritten. It was a thin figure about 2 inches wide. I really hope that it wasn't literally like 2 inches wide. Because
right.
that otherwise
I'm gonna kick your ass.
Well, then because if anything, it's looking for food, as it should. Give it a cheeseburger and it might be okay.
Right.
Little
kangaroo meat, send it on its way, right?
Right. So I really honestly hope he didn't actually mean it was 2 inches.
I think that was a miss. I think that was a miss step there.
Mistype?
I think so. I think maybe 2 feet wide.
Maybe. I don't know.
Still narrow, right? 2 foot wide would still be narrow. Think about it. I mean, my shoulders are 56 inches across, so you're talking only 24 inches, so not even half my size. So.
Right. So either way, honestly, as I was reading this, the thing came to my mind of, it's definitely not a skinwalker. I'm like, but almost sounds more like a pale crawler again.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't say how tall it was.
But it was looking in the window. So it was tall enough to look whatever height the window was. It was tall enough to look in the window.
Right. And so I can only assume that it's a 1-floor place, is things on the main floor.
Right.
So, or in the basement. But the only other thing that came to mind although that didn't really have arms, so never mind. I was going to say those figures that were caught on camera walking through the yard, Fact or Fake did those, but they had no arms. So there went that.
Oh, those really spindly, freaky. Yeah. Right.
Right. So, I mean, honestly, what he's describing here sounds more like a pale crawler.
Could be.
And
or new cryptid.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, the pale crawler is a new cryptid. Right. And so we have no idea where they are, or all the locations. We just know that obviously there's some sightings here in the Twin Cities area in Minnesota.
Right.
But, could they be in Australia? Absolutely. Depends on what the F they are. So yeah, it's either a new cryptid, somebody trying to scare the living F out of you, but it'd be really hard if they were only 2 inches wide.
Right. I would walk outside and be like, really? Like, you're 2 inches wide. You're really gonna, right? And then of course it would totally kick my ass and destroy me, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's what would happen, as you walk outside with the American mentality of a male, you'd be like, really? 2 inches wide? Jesus. I thought something scary was going to be here, and then you'd just be destroyed.
Yeah. There's an old saying from the movie, The One, or The Power of One. Little beat big when little smart. First with the head, then with the heart.
Never saw it, but that's a great quote.
It is. It's actually a really good movie. You should watch it. But yeah, anyway, it was 18 years ago. You never saw it again.
Right.
I understand you were freaked out. You want to know what it is. Who wouldn't? You should probably move on. I don't think that it's coming after you anymore. I don't think it probably wasn't coming after you to begin with.
No.
That's all I got. I mean, and your mom could very well be right. The neighbors could have been yelling for something else and you heard it in your head. I understand it sounded a lot like her. But I mean, I don't think voice replication, I don't think that's a Skinwalker trait either. I think that's more of a Wendigo thing, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe you have the Australian chapter of the Wendigos.
Yeah, I was going to say Skinwalkers, they're not calling you in. They're basically just coming up on you in a certain form that doesn't totally freak you out until they get close enough to transform. So, yeah. So I would agree with you. I don't know what's going on here. He could have misheard something and thought it was his mom. I'll tell you what, though, as a kid who knew what his mom's voice sounded like when you're outside playing, for me, I knew if it was my mom, I would know it was my mom. I would know it wasn't the neighbors yelling or talking loud or whatever. I would know it was my mom. So I think that what happened here, let's throw out the 2-inch wide figure, because I can't wrap my head around that. So I'm going to throw that out anyway. I'm going to throw that out just because I can't wrap my head around it. Because if it's only 2 inches wide and it has elongated arms and fingers, then what the hell are the arms? Like a 1/2 inch wide? What are we getting to here? We're getting to like these extremes of this little tiny minuscule type of thing. I guess, you're 8 years old. I could see you being scared, but only scared because you didn't understand what it was. I don't think you need to be scared because it was coming after you. So I agree with Mike. I think you kind of were going down that same path.
Look, here is an artist representation of what he saw.
There it is. So I am not going to be freaking out. So if that is the case, I am not freaking out. But that just could be because I've seen more shit than this guy's seen. He's never going to see as much stuff as I've seen. So, I don't know. I guess the only thing I could say is maybe it's a new cryptid. Maybe it was alien. I don't know. Right? I mean, maybe it's something that we kind of is in Australia, kind of a hotspot for UFO stuff anyway. It seems like it. At least every time I hear about Australia, I either hear about like some horrific attack from like a sea creature or a land-based creature where somebody died, or it's something about some freaky like UFO type of thing, which I don't know. Australia is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. It's been on my bucket list to go for a long time, and I still really want to go. But it's kind of it's weird. It's a weird island. It's a weird country. It really is. Because if you think about it, right? Like the Aborigines that are on Australia, some people consider them to be the first people ever. And that they've, like, when they test their DNA, they have these genes that nobody else has. So I don't know. Could be. Could be Aboriginal, could be something Aboriginal, could be something that comes from them. I don't know. But I'm with you. It's been 18 years, move on. There's no reason to be scared of it anymore. Right? But I will say once again, on the side of blankets and the side of getting under your sheets, when you see something that freaks you out, sheets are the saving grace. Sheets and blankets, they saved many, many children's lives. So, all right. Number 4, I saw a young girl that might be an old lady. Okay, this happened about 2 years ago, and I still can't explain it myself. It happened on a summer night, and I was in my room chatting with my girlfriend via Skype. For context, I live on the 2nd floor. My parents' apartment has 3 rooms, and my dad was sleeping in my parents' bedroom. My room is the one right next to the main door. My mom was out with her friend for a night walk. At some point, I needed to take a pee, and I told my girlfriend to hang on for a minute. I'll be right back. So there I was going to the bathroom when I heard footsteps coming from the main door, the sounds someone makes when they are going up the stairs. I figured it would be my mom, and I checked through the hole in the door. I don't know how it is called in English, but you get the point. When I looked, I saw a little girl, seemed to be about 10 years old, standing still on the stairs looking at me. The image was not clear because it was dark, which is hard to explain since the stairs have move detection lights, so motion detection lights, I'm assuming. So the lights should have been on. If somebody would have walked up the stairs, motion lights plugged in, of course they would have been on, illuminating the stairs so you don't fall on the stairs. Also, you would have seen who it was. I was able to see the girl still because of the lights coming through the windows from outside of the house, but it was dark still. I looked at the girl for 2 seconds, which seemed like 5 minutes. And I ran back in my room and told my girlfriend about it. She told me I looked like I saw a ghost. I was really terrified. I did not want to pee that night, not until my dad woke up and he went too. Another thing that is hard to explain is that on my block, there are no teen girls. Why would a random girl that does not live there just stand there on the stairway in complete darkness? Again, I was able to see her because of the lights outside the block that were coming in on the windows from the stairways. And here comes the creepiest part. In the apartment next to ours lived an old lady. She had only one daughter that never visited her and had no grandchildren. She was very close to our family, and she always gave us pies and these kinds of customs and attentions. Only to find out the day after I saw that supposed girl that this old lady had died 3 days prior. I immediately made a correlation thinking that maybe the little girl was the old lady trying to send a message or something. It also confirms that it was not my mind playing games, since I did not know that she refers to her as the old lady, but I'll be polite and say the next door neighbor was dead when the event happened. Do you guys think that it might have been my dead neighbor? I'm throwing in my 99.98% flag to yes, it was your neighbor. She passed away. She went back to a time when she felt good, felt her life was going great. No worries, no concerns. And I know we've had this conversation a lot, and we've gone, if you're a fan of the show and you've listened to us, we have gone back and forth on this, and I know we waver on it. The only reason we waver is because nobody on a topic like this, there are no experts. Nobody has the answers. And so one story takes us one way, one story takes us another way. But this particular story and this question asking whether she saw her neighbor or not, I totally believe, my gut tells me that when her neighbor passed away, she went back to a time in her life when she was happy and healthy and safe and felt good about that time in her life. And that is the age that she chose to show herself as. And because she had a daughter who disliked her and had no grandkids, and because she was close to your family, I would say that that was your neighbor. Especially if you've never seen her since. Especially if it was only a couple of days or even one time. And you were scared because you saw something. Understandable. But there was no reason to be scared because it wasn't trying to harm you. It was just there. Probably trying to say goodbye. Or to say thank you for being the family that you never had. So.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I definitely think it was the neighbor choosing to show up like that. I mean, who knows? Maybe she didn't even know that you could see her, through the hole, because she's looking through the hole. I mean,
right.
And maybe she was like deciding whether to go in or not. And right. I think the fact that the motion lights didn't go on is a give. Please use the term.
Huge giveaway.
A dead. I was just say dead giveaway.
Oh, look at that! It's
yes,
not as good as the bark of the tree, but it's good.
Nothing could ever be as good as bark of the tree. But
but I get you, right. It'd be a dead giveaway if the lights would not go on, because you're not tripping them, because you don't have the physical presence to trip the lights.
Right. So, I think she's saying goodbye, and you probably will never see her again. So
I agree.
I move on with life. That is the moral of the show tonight. Move on with life.
It seems like it. It is kind of going that direction, isn't it? Like, people see it when they're a little younger, but they're still like freaked out about it. So, man, there's a lot of weird shit in the world around us. If you saw something that freaked you out 10 years ago, don't hold on to it, because it's not going to duplicate itself.
So, even though I know it's after 8, I want to do the next story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only cat story we've had in the last month.
Exactly. So, here we go. Story number 5. I think something is trying to harm my cat, like a guardian angel, probably. So I, female 26, live with my partner, male 29, and our cat is a small, not, and our cat, and our cat, and our cat in a small, not so modern apartment. I'd estimate it to be about 50 years old. Weird things happen all the time, like something falling off a shelf, bread falling off the counter, toilet roll unrolling itself. Did you do it correctly? Over the top? Just saying.
Right. I agree.
But I think things are escalating. Here's a recap of my past 24 hours. Cleaning the apartment yesterday, I hear my partner yell out my name from the bathroom. I race in, hearing the panic in his voice. He's staring into an adjoining walk-in closet and said the sleeve of my shirt was moving, like someone was holding it up, looking at it, feeling the fabric. Oh, that's what he said. He said the sleeve of my shirt was moving, like someone was holding it up, looking at it, feeling the fabric. That's amazing. I love that.
Yep.
When he looked at it, it fell down to how it would normally hang. It's winter here, so all of our windows are closed, and no airflow in the wardrobe could have caused this. Half joking, I turn to my partner and say, "Oh, I guess it really likes my shirt." It was her shirt. Got
it's her shirt hanging on a hanger, I would guess. Yeah.
Right. That's when it moved again. The sleeve of my shirt moved, and I saw it too. We're both over 1 meter away from it. I was nervous and made another half joke. It must like me wearing color. Shirt was colored, and 99% of my clothes are black. Nice. This is when we watched the shirt move again in response. I'm on my way home from work and just received an extremely panicked message from my partner. Why can't you just say boyfriend or husband?
It's European because it's got the whole metric thing with 1 meter away. So they're not in America. Where they are, I don't know. Right. Where they are, I don't know, but they're not in America because nobody in America measures shit with like saying I'm 1 meter away. You'd say I'm 3 to 4 feet away, not 1 meter. So
it's Canadians. I feel like they're Canadians.
You think it's Canadian? Yeah.
I think they're Canadians.
I think Canadians are a metric.
They are. All right. Anyway,
like everybody in the world's on metric except us. So,
well, that's why everybody else is wrong. So anyway,
I agree. 100%.
Panic message from my partner. The door has slammed to our bedroom, and he's heard footsteps walking away. He thought it was me getting home, but realized I couldn't have come home without him seeing. It's a small open apartment. Now, why am I worried about my cat? 2 nights ago, we were in the lounge room, just chilling, watching TV. Cat is fast asleep on the couch next to me. Shocker. All of a sudden, she jolted awake and made noises I'd never heard from her before. She was absolutely terrified, and it took a good 30 minutes to calm her down. Just give her some food. She never done anything like this before. My partner just told me it happened again, but after the door slammed, he realized that both doors to our room had slammed shut at the same time, trapping my cat in there. Sorry. She's then had another horrific nightmare, and he's currently trying to calm her. I haven't had anything like this happen before. I don't know where to start, but I'm really worried about my cat. She's my world. Please help me. I'm actually going to help your boyfriend by saying he should probably find somebody else. Since if your cat is your world and not your significant other, you're not very committed. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in there.
So, all right. So anyway, honestly, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, your cat just seems to be upset. You know, like it doesn't seem like there's anything actually hurting the cat. Just freaking the living shit out of it. So, as I was reading this, and especially like the doors slamming and then like the footsteps walking away, like it almost seemed to me like it's a residual energy of them. You know, like it's stuff that they do, you know, because a woman doesn't, you know, fiddle with their sleeves or whatever.
Right. Getting ready in the morning, right?
Exactly. Shutting the door and walking down the hallway is something residents do in their homes every day, all day. Well, not all day, but every day.
But every day. Certainly in the morning, leaving for the day. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything that is going on is interacting directly with you guys. I don't know. I mean, if this cat is your world and it's your residual energy because it's your clothes, it's your room, it's your cat. If it suddenly feels something trying to pet it and knows that it's not actually you, it's probably going to freak the living crap out of anything, dog or cat, mouse, whatever, gerbil. What? People have gerbils.
Oh, no, I had gerbils growing up. They're great.
See, there you go. Yeah. But anytime I think, please excuse the terminology, phantom energy interacts with them, I think it's going to freak them the F out. Mm-hmm. I don't think your cat is actually in any danger. I'll just leave it there. I don't think your cat is in any danger. I don't think you guys are in any danger. If anything, I would recommend saging. Saging the house, kind of clearing out any energy that may be there, and see if that helps.
Y'all done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. All right. So I would like to see where this goes. So I would not sage yet. I would like to see what the next 72 hours looks like. Because if all of a sudden things are ramping up, I would like to document what's happening here as a paranormal investigator. Now, is that necessarily the best thing for the client? Probably not. But as a paranormal investigator, if things are really ramping up like this and it seems like everything's coming to a head, let it come to a head and then find out what it is. Nobody in the house is being harmed. If anybody was in the house being harmed, obviously, you know me, I would never, ever, ever say it's okay for that. That would never be the case. But I gotta say this. I gotta throw this in there. So I've been a cat owner regretfully longer than I would like to admit. Like 30 years I've had cats, probably 25 years for sure.
It's something to be ashamed of.
Yeah. I'm going to go hide in my corner after this show. But I have never ever seen a cat freak out for 30 minutes. So that's a long ass time. Like my cats have gotten uncomfortable because of thunder. I've had cats in my house when there were presences in my house. Like my dad would come visit. Obviously he passed away, but he would come check in on my daughters, his grandkids that he never got to meet, and he would show up at the house, and I would know he was there. I could smell his cologne. I could feel his presence. We'd walk through each other. The cats would react in not a freaked out. Well, I won't say they're not freaked out. Not in a run for my life, the world is going to end type of mentality. Neither did the dogs, but they were all alert to what was happening in the house. I'll just say that. But that lasted just minutes, not 30 minutes. So if this truly is lasting 30 minutes, there is something extremely powerful happening at your location. And that is why I would want to document it for the next 3 to 5 days. Like I said, might not be the best advice, but from a paranormal investigator's standpoint, that is the best advice. I don't think the cat's in any harm. I don't think anybody is in any harm. But I think this right here, this would be a phenomenal opportunity to document some really legitimate paranormal activity.
You're very what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't want to say violent, but aggressive. There we go. Aggressive with your advice tonight. Because you had one story where like, get it out of your place, send it over to your neighbors, let them deal with it. And now you're like, you could sage, you could probably get rid of, hold off, experience this for another 72 hours.
Right.
See what happens.
See what happens.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you tonight?
Nobody's getting attacked. Nobody's getting hurt. Right. You know me. If somebody's getting hurt or there's like kids, things are in jeopardy, it's chaos, absolutely shut the door, call in the reserves, cleanse that place, make sure everybody's okay. If you got a bunch of dudes that are partying, they got a 5-foot iguana running around naked, running through the house in the middle of a thunderstorm, whatever, right? They're pretty chill to begin with. So see what happens next. See what you can document. In this case, nobody's getting hurt. Her cat freaked out for 30 minutes, which I think is a great over-exaggeration. The cat probably freaked out for about 3 minutes. Honestly.
They are from Canada. Their system is completely whacked.
Right. They're measuring shit in meters. So 3 minutes to the US is 30 minutes to Canada, right? So your cat ain't freaking out for 30 minutes. What do you mean? Like it jumped up and went like, oh my God, I feel uncomfortable. And it ran underneath the couch and wouldn't come out. That's a cat. Cats do that shit. That's not free. That's not having a major medical emergency for 30 minutes for the cat, right? It's just cats do that. That's just their nature. If there's a loud thunderstorm and they get freaked out, they see a flash of lightning and a big boom of thunder, my dog would try to go underneath the couch. I mean, she would be halfway under the couch and then stuck. And I'd be like, Jasmine, seriously. Jazz, come on out. Pat her on the butt. I'd be like, honey, just come out. You're okay. I'm right here. You can come sit with me. And she'd worm her way back out. And then she'd be like, Dad, whoa. Nose would go immediately in the armpit. And she would just sit there and hide her face. And we would ride the storm out together. But 30 minutes for a cat freaking out. I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So,
all right. Moving on.
Do we want to do the last story, or
you want me to? We can.
We don't have to.
I mean, it's a shotgun approach for what's going to happen after. So we don't really have a topic.
I honestly thought. So the title of the next one, I mean, I know it's yours, is My Hometown Makes Me Sick.
Yeah. But
I just kind of skimmed it over really quick. I swore I originally read My Homework Makes Me Sick. And I was like, this is going to be an interesting story. What's your homework?
I'll read it real quick. It won't take more than 5 minutes. Right.
Sure.
Okay. So number 6, My Hometown Makes Me Sick. So this person writes in, I'm from a small city in Mexico. I lived there my whole life. I had to move 2 years ago because I found a good job in a bigger city. Since the pandemic started, I work now remotely, and that gives us the opportunity, my fiance and myself, to visit our families in our hometown for many weeks. The city has been getting worse in the last years. Crime rates increased, unemployment increased, corrupt politicians, even corrupt police robbing people. We have noticed that after only 2 weeks in here, we start to feel depressed. We sleep but have no rest. We begin having nightmares. We even get sick much more often. First, I thought it was only me, maybe my parents' house, but this exactly happened to her, his fiance, as you can feel the same sadness, depression in most of the people living here. This is the 3rd time this year we came, and it happened again. We feel like we need to get out of here ASAP. it's as if we were drained, our energy, our hopes, our health. I feel there is much evil in this town, that people collective feeling made the whole town sick, and it is snowballing. We love to visit our families, but the only solution we found is to stay shorter periods of time, but it would be better if we could protect ourselves from this. Any suggestions? So the reason I really like the story, this goes into global consciousness, projection. So what's happening here is you have regretfully, down in Mexico, you've got this small Mexican town that is being overtaken probably by the cartel because it's a hub, a distribution point, whatever. It's being taken over and everything is going to shit, and everything's going to go to shit because there's nothing positive going to come out of that. So what's happening here is everybody in town is feeling that. Everybody the elderly people that have lived there, maybe grew up there their whole life, third, fourth generation people, they feel that like this was their place where they felt happy and safe. And now all of that has been stripped away. And now what you have is you have this cesspool of violence and depression and poverty. And all of that energy is this great big ball of shit that is now spreading out over like a cloud of doom over this community. Regretfully, that's what's happening. And when you arrive there, and I'm sure if you and I went there and we spent a week or two there, we probably would feel the same way. We probably would feel depressed and dark. Like, I don't want to go out today. I don't feel good today. I'm just going to hang out. I'm just going to sit inside. And I think that happens. I think what's happening is all of that energy that's there is just, the energy is just crap. It's just negative shit energy. There's nothing positive happening anymore. All of the good moments, all of the sunshine, all the laughter, all of that is gone. And what you have now is you just have this mess. My advice, if you got a really good job in the city and you're making really good money and you love your parents and they took care of you and raised you, buy a house someplace for your parents. It doesn't have to be some mansion, big ass house, whatever. Just buy someplace, have them sell their house, buy someplace they can get the hell out of that city, because I think that city is, whatever town it is, I think it's probably it's going downhill and it's not going to come back, regretfully. And I think that's what's happening. So that would be my advice. Move.
Are you sure you just don't want him to stay there for another year and see what happens?
No, not in this case. I think there's too much. I think there's too much happening here that is just. It's just negative. It's just dark. It ain't gonna get better. If the cartel moved in, it's not gonna get better. They're not leaving, right? You're some sort of important piece of real estate to them. They don't give a shit about your town's name. It's just where you happen to land on the map. Maybe there's a trucking firm there. Maybe there's, who the hell knows? Maybe there's good access to a highway. Whatever, but grab your parents, get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
That would be my advice.
I got nothing to add. So.
All right. We agree.
I agree. We agree on that one.
We do agree on that one.
All right. So, hour 2. More like hour, 0.4. Something like that. So,
something like that.
Yeah. Using the American system of time.
Right.
So, anyway. Where do we want to begin?
Let's go to Skinwalker Ranch. Since we were just talking about it, I just got caught up on the last couple of episodes. We're, obviously the season finale is coming up
tomorrow night.
So yeah. So let's go there.
All right. What did you think of this season? As compared to last season, let's just not even talk about like what do you think? Is your opinion or theory of what is going on there different than last year?
Yes.
So what do you think?
99.98%. Yes.
Now, what do you think is going on?
I was always aware of the fact that there were UFOs and some sort of alien type of stuff happening in that basin. And I don't think a lot of people seem to think that the ranch, which is like 500 acres, it's a big ranch. A lot of people seem to think that the ranch is like the only spot that UFO activity happens, and that is not the case. That whole basin is active as hell. I mean, it's if you are into UFOs, you know that in Utah, that whole Utah basin is, for whatever reason, is a hotspot for paranormal activity, extraterrestrial type of activity. So I will say a couple things. This season, I was really impressed and kind of taken aback when something's happening at the Triangle, okay, and at Homestead too. And when they were shining the lasers up and the lasers were deflected off of something, but there was nothing there. And then when another laser got shot up, it split into a Y. I have a laser. I've played with my laser quite a bit. They're fun to play with.
That's not a euphemism.
No, right. They're just fun to play with. I've never ever shined it someplace up in the sky and had it refract the light to a different direction. If I saw that with my own two eyes, I'd be like, holy shit, something I can't see is in the sky that has a metallic surface, and my laser hit it and it shot it to the right because it's deflecting off of that surface. That's what's happening at Skinwalker Ranch right now. That, and they got into infrasound this year, and they got into this cool. They saw this thing in the mesa that they wanted to go explore, which I think is cool. They went to the mesa this year. They did that whole side drilling type of thing. That guy hit something. They got shards of metal that came out of the mesa. So what the hell is metal that's in the mesa, first of all? And then when they took it to a meteorologist and they took it to the University of Utah, both people said these have really, and I can't remember the names of them, but really rare metals on them. And one side has one really rare metal and one side has the other really rare metal, where one is acting as a superconductor and one is acting as a semiconductor. And the guy who was a meteorologist said that the effect of what's happening there is like what you would see on something that we have that has the tiles that deflect the heat for re-entry. That blew me away. That statement by that professor of meteorology, the Indian guy, totally kind of set me back in my seat like, what the hell is going on? What are you talking about? That there is something in the mesa that has the ability or that has the properties that it can enter our atmosphere and has these heat deflective shields, and we're grinding some of that shit off of it as they're going into the mesa. While I know that it's known for, there's claims of Bigfoot, there's claims of skinwalkers, there's claims of dire wolves. there's claims of like a predator type of thing that has this camouflage. Like, it's all documented. It's all of the stuff I'm talking about is documented on the ranch. My mind has gone towards UFO. Like, there's something on the ranch that really is extraterrestrial. And it was interesting in the last episode when they said, why, did they cause the cave in on the mesa in order to hide it? And my thought was, if you really discovered a UFO, why would you sell the property? Why the hell would you ever let go of that property? There's no way in hell the federal government would ever allow the resale of that property. That property would have been under control of NIDS. It would have been under control of the federal government. And they would have not, if there was a UFO or some type of alien technology that they found in that mesa, there's no way in hell that Brandon would have ever had the opportunity to buy that place. It would have never happened. Doesn't matter how many millions of dollars we're talking about, because there's nothing else on the planet Earth that's ever been discovered outside of Roswell or outside of Brazil, which is also, I've got some stuff on this really wild shit that's happening in Brazil right now that we'll move on to. We'll segue into it. But for right now, in my mind's eye, whatever's there is technology that we don't have, and it's technology we don't understand. So is it alien? I don't know. That's the term for it, right? I'll say this. I doubt that our government built something in the 60s or the 50s and that we left it there, and that whatever we built back then has this technology, and we were just kind of hiding it, knowing where it was. And still, I go back to, if that was the case, that piece of property would never be on the market. It would never be on the market. The ranchers that bought it originally, they never would have had the opportunity to buy it if the government was hiding something there. And I know the whole mentality of hiding it in plain sight, bullshit. I'm going to throw the bullshit flag on that. I understand that mentality. There's no way in hell that they would have allowed that to happen. Because if you actually brought in a big-ass backhoe and a couple of excavators and just ripped that mesa to pieces, which they're not going to do, right? Because they're all worried about digging on the site. But if they did, they've got the location. They know exactly where it is. They've got this funky ass metal coming out from the bore bit that was bouncing off of something. I would say just go in there, tear it up, bring in some big ass excavators, or bring in the absolute best LiDAR that you could possibly have. Because like when Josh Gates and stuff I'm just going back, people using LiDAR. I mean, to me, the best thing I've ever seen with LiDAR was when they were like in South America or Mexico, wherever it was, and they were looking tearing down through the canopy and finding these ancient cities and mapping them out. But when you look at the canopy, it just looks like trees growing, right? So I don't know. I'm not an expert on LiDAR. I don't know exactly how powerful it is. But if you got the best LiDAR technology and you flew really low over the mesa, would you be able to see whatever that bore bit was bouncing off of? Would you, if there was technology underground, which there has to be, that metal came from somewhere. That's not natural. The guy even said it was fused and man-made. The meteorologist and the university both said the same thing, that it's not a natural occurrence. It's man-made. It's one of the rarest elements on the planet Earth is part of that metal that they took out of there. There's something in there, in the mesa. So if you got LiDAR to go over it, could you map out what it is without having to tear the mesa up? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But that would be if it were me and I own that ranch, that would be the next move I would take. Bring in the absolute best ground penetrating radar and let's map out the object that we're talking about. And then let's take our next step.
So I don't think that would work. And not because it's not a good idea, because it is. But I think that they would get malfunctions, just like they always do. Mm-hmm. So here's what I want to throw your way.
Okay.
And get your take, because it has not been brought up yet, and I'm kind of surprised to have that not brought up by you.
Okay.
Do you remember back in our 5-piece alien conspiracy story or thing where we were talking about the Hat Man, we were talking about the fake war, and we were talking about all this other, and we brought up Cath, for however the hell you want to pronounce his name, Cafth or something like that.
Yeah, Cath. Yep, the little sausage factory where they were going to pump out the little aliens out of Australia.
Right, but he was actually an alien that was not working with, but he was on the Hat Man side of things, not the fake. It was there was a reason why it was 5 episodes long. Right, exactly. There was a lot of information. Yeah, but I mean, do you remember? And we've talked about this since. One of the things that he had said, it's like, we sabotage everything so that you don't figure out, or you don't jump to this next level until you are ready. That's why if a $5 billion satellite malfunctions halfway up into the sky, and that actually has happened in the last couple of years. Yep. I find it interesting that with all of the UAPs, they're not UFOs anymore, they're UAPs. I got a problem with that. I'm just going to throw that out there. Like that, to me, what the hell is a UAP? Unidentified aerial phenomenon. I know what it stands for. But what I'm saying is, what the hell is a UAP? I think that's the federal government's way of throwing off UFO. Like, I think what they're trying to do is create this new, oh my God, we're witnessing something. Let's call it a UAP, and let's take the UFO name and get rid of it. And everything that's happened from today all the way back to Roswell and before, let's just shove it into the ground and just bury it and forget about it. And let's move forward with this new name. And everybody's going to be excited about this new name because we're going to be like, ooh, I saw a UAP. It's a UFO. It's rebranding. That's all it is. It is rebranding, and it makes me sick to my stomach. Honestly, that's what they do. Personal vendetta. I agree with you 100%, but it's a personal vendetta for me type of thing. I think that makes me sick to my stomach that they're doing that. It's a UFO. FFS. Right. So all I'm saying is that yes, the all of these malfunctions has, I don't agree with Brandon's characteristic that it seems to have insidious intent. Like, it does have intent. There is something there, though. There is something. There is something above the ranch that's there that's invisible. Well, see, and that's what, that's where I was wrong, because I was one of the people who always believed that the base was underground, underground in the mesa, and that, and I still believe this, is that the 20 years that Bigelow was out there quote unquote searching for, doing his research.
Right.
No, they were building something. They were doing something very specific, and passing it off as what they were doing was research. I honestly think, and people can call me crazy if they want, I think the base is above the ranch, and I think what is in the mesa is more of a power source for it.
I could see where you're going with that. Yeah.
And the heat shield is to keep, it's almost like a cold fusion. Like I don't want to say it's a nuclear reactor, because I don't think that I don't think that that's it. But I think that those tiles, whatever they want to call them, is to keep heat in, as opposed to getting it, to shove it away like they would if they were landing. It's to take the heat and throw it along the sides and to disperse it.
Right.
I think that these tiles that they're using is to keep the heat internal and not let it out. So I think they might have
that could explain like why the mesa glows every once in a while. Right. I mean, because they have documented video. If people have not seen it, there is documented video of this weird glowing thing that's happening on the mesa, like where the mesa lights up, and then lights actually shoot up into the sky. It's not like, you know what I mean? It almost looks like you're having a huge car lot grand opening, with one of those big cannon lights, and that shit shoots up out of the mesa, but there's nothing there. It's the weirdest goddamn thing. Even if it was natural minerals, they're not shooting upwards with that intensity.
The other thing that, again, I'm surprised you didn't touch upon was the 1.6 gigahertz.
Oh, yeah. Well, you didn't give me enough time.
Are you kidding me? You took like 15 minutes without taking a breath. Don't give me that crap. I didn't give you time.
The 1.6 gigahertz is very interesting. I have not done research on it yet, but I certainly will. But it's extremely odd that whatever's happening there, that they found it. Like they found something there. That is something legitimate to what's happening. Because when that shit's rebroadcasting on his receiver, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden now it's broadcasting, and that shit doesn't broadcast. It's not programmed to do that. It can't broadcast, but it's broadcasting. And then he plays it for the guys on the ranch, and goddamn, the caretaker, I forget his name now, but he and his girlfriend that lived together on the ranch, the caretaker, he hears it on the radio, and he's like, woof, and he goes right to the ground, and they have to medevac his ass out of there. Something's going on with that signal. And that funky ass thing when they were at the radio station. Mm-hmm. They even got weird ass results off of that. So
when they were doing those episodes, the thought that came to my mind is they're turning this into the movie Arrival with Charlie Sheen. Mm-hmm. Because that is almost literally what that movie is about. Him finding a signal. It almost looks the exact same.
Yeah.
When they play it on the spectrograph.
Yeah.
With that, it almost looks the exact same.
Yeah.
And they're getting it from here, and then they're getting it from over here. And my only thought was they're talking, which was, his big thing is there was a sky-based one. Then there for sure was an earth-based one, which went through a radio station. That's how he found out where it was, because it was a Mexican radio station. And here we have a radio station that is also hearing it, from Skinwalker Ranch. And his was like, what can these two things have in common? Is like, unless they're talking.
Right.
So, I mean, is the 1.6 gigahertz their communication frequency?
It certainly could be, because as they've stated on the show multiple times, that is not a frequency that's used in our let's say R, like the world's type of communication technology. We don't use 1.6 gigahertz. So for a signal to be coming in, I mean, isn't that like the movie Contact, right? It's like we've got these gigantic. There are many places on the planet Earth, whether people know about them or not, with these super gigantic dishes with these radio antenna that are pointed up into space. And some of the more sophisticated ones I've seen are like 12 to 20 of these ginormous dishes. I mean, I don't know how big they are. They're a football field across, at least, maybe 2 or 3 football fields across. And then, and they all work in sync. And there might be 15 of them, but they all focus energy and point it in one spot into space, trying to find a signal. What if it's not that goddamn hard, right? What if that is just overkill times a million? What if they are getting a signal at Skinwalker Ranch using simplistic equipment just because they're in the right spot? And these other locations that these scientists have picked for these spots they're just not in the right spot, right? I mean, they're just out there, I don't know. Is it that simple? Could you just simply have a data logger and a couple $100 pieces of equipment and pick up the signal? I think if you're in the right spot, I think you could. So that leads into my next thought, which I said earlier. If somehow they could document that there is something in that mesa, do you just go balls out? I mean, do you just rip that mesa down in that spot and see what the hell it is? Or are you going to go in there and every bulldozer and big excavator you bring in, are they all just going to stop functioning like everything else does on the ranch?
Because I mean, they tried to
sitting there, $10 million worth of equipment. And you're not going to get a single goddamn boulder moved because everything's going to be shut down.
Yeah.
I think that's what would happen. Honestly.
So one of the things that has never been brought up again, it was brought up in the season finale of last season and then was not brought up again the entire season, and it probably will be again tomorrow night.
Yeah. In the roundtable discussion, it looks like they're having.
Right. And that is the fact that they are being watched by like the CIA, by the NSA.
Right.
Like Travis himself was like, I have been contacted by some interested parties.
Right.
And
like
he's like,
black ops type of people. Right.
We are being surveilled. We are being watched.
Right.
And they are watching what we are doing with interest. I think that if they even attempted something like that
to that scale of
to
like
that
digging
scale,
into the mesa, they would shut it down.
I think they would be shut down. There would be permits or something that the government would have to approve of in order to do it, and they would never get it.
Just bring in a couple of wild yokels with like 100 sticks of dynamite and blow that frickin' mesa to hell. There's your excavation permit, buddy. I agree though, but then that goes back to my original thought is why, if they know it's there, or if they even have the slightest inclination and like they have proof of something that made them pause and stop and say, man, we've been looking for a long time and we found something. Why the hell would you sell it? I just don't get that. I just don't get that they don't need the money. NIDS doesn't need the money. Bigelow doesn't need the money.
I don't think they found
why sell
anything.
it to Brandon?
I don't think they found anything.
Well, they documented a shit ton of stuff that happened there. That's for sure. Because everybody on the ranch knows stories about stuff that they've documented, that they've talked about. We just don't have the actual proof of it because Bigelow has never released a single piece of evidence for the decade that he was there. So now you're running into a brick wall. It's a stalwart type of situation. Mm-hmm. You know, did he find stuff? Did stuff happen? Absolutely it did. There's been multiple credible people that have come off the ranch and been like, I was part of that 15 years ago, 18 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I was part of it. Well, it was NIDS. Well, Bigelow owned it. And there was this, and this happened, and that happened, and there was all kinds of shit happening. So I don't believe that. I think they found something. I don't believe they didn't find something.
I think they built something in instead of finding it. But that's me.
No, I mean, that's an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought. You know, that it would be America's. So here's where I'm going with what you said. I mean, this is what I'm feeling, is that it's our offering as some type of safe landing zone for artificial, but alien life intelligence. It's our way of saying you can land here and everything's cool.
Well, I mean, the one place
and if you want to dissect this cow while you're here, we got like 18 of them in the field. Take your pick. You know,
they're, you know, they would definitely want that to take place in the middle of nowhere,
which this location pretty much
and
is.
The Uinta Basin is the middle of nowhere.
It's pretty much the middle of nowhere. I looked it up on Google Earth, and I've done all kinds of research mapping it out and stuff. It's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. It's like 90 minutes southeast of Salt Lake City. So if you flew into Salt Lake, within 2 hours, you could be at Skinwalker Ranch's gate. If you wanted to specifically go to the gate and like take a selfie of you standing in front of the gate. Or see Brandon. Be like, Brandon, don't shoot me. I'm just here to take a selfie.
I don't think Brandon would be shooting anybody.
Probably not. But
all right. Well, with the time that we have, let me. I have one more question.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to hear tomorrow on the season finale?
This season they have documented more UAP activity than ever. I think we both know, we both know Brandon has very deep pockets personally. And I don't think, like I've told you before, I don't think he's doing this solo. So I think he has some behind the scenes quiet investors, I'm sure he does, that are interested in finding out what the hell's happening here. Because if you have a ton of money, who doesn't want to be on the cusp of being the person to say, we made contact, right? I mean, holy shit. You could forget everything that we know today is going to change. TikTok, all this crap, this social media bullshit, that's all going to go out the door. If we make contact with another life form, think like the whole world's going to shift. The whole thing is going to shift. And who doesn't want to be on the forefront of that? So Brandon has deep pockets. I'm sure he has a bunch of friends who are quiet investors who also have very deep pockets. So I think he can take this to any place he wants to take it, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any limitations on what Brandon's willing to do. I think tomorrow what we're going to see, you're going to see some probably really good evidence of stuff that they have found. And then I don't know what it's going to be, but I think that somebody sitting at that table is going to drop a bomb at the end of that conversation, which is going to lead us into next season. Some piece of evidence either some video clip or some personal experience with documentation or some photographic evidence or whatever. There's going to be something there. Now, the thing that kills me, and the reason I want to get on that ranch, and I really want to get on the ranch. So if anybody listening from Skinwalker, as we're talking about this, wants to take a couple of people with great experience, Mike and I will come to the ranch for free, just the two of us. And we're going to bring a couple cases of equipment, but we're not going to document UFO stuff. We're going to document the homesteads. I think that's really where I think shit's happening. Like, I think that the stuff happening at the homestead too is something that really needs to be documented, and it's not getting enough attention. We don't have the ability to document the Mesa and the UFO stuff. I mean, we could put a static camera pointing in the sky, but Jesus Christ, they've got more big dollar technology than we. There's no reason to repeat that. But the one thing they're not focusing on that I would do if I were allowed to go there is I would focus on the homesteads. And I would do a shitload of EVP sessions because it's dead ass quiet out there. I mean, there would be no mistaking. You're not getting any type of interference. I do spirit box sessions. I would do EVP sessions without spirit box. I'd have my Polaroid camera. I would take a shitload of pictures, old school type of stuff. See what happens. Bring the FLIR. Try and do the repeat where the Jewish priest came out and recited that song and that prayer, and the Homestead 2 got like 40 degrees colder in like 30 seconds. How do you explain that? You can't. There's something happening at Homestead 2. I mean, because Homestead 2, that's where that reserve thing is in the back, that water tank or whatever. That's where, it got radiation burns. I don't know. I think that needs to be documented. There is something happening there. That needs to be documented. What is happening elsewhere is also happening. But I think you have a multitude of shit happening all at the same time. Like when they said, because I was thinking about this the other day, right? You're going to send a 15-foot rocket up, and I love the concept of it. You could really pack up the insides with a bunch of equipment. Love that from the scientific standpoint. That's not my strong suit, but I understand it. Load that son of a bitch up, right? Put all of your shit in there. It's a 12-inch cylinder tube. You can put shit in there you've never been able to put in any of them small rockets. Go for it. Load that sucker up, man. I love the concept of we're going to punch out dust, like chalk dust, like every 1,000 feet on the way back down. That's a phenomenal idea, because if there is something above there, that chalk dust might just land on top of it, and you might just see it temporarily. And if you can get it on video, now you know that there's something really there. I love that idea. Whatever's above the triangle would not allow that to happen. That second rocket went up and went like it hit something and bounced off and went like they said, they put its turn signal on. It hung at 45. Well, it wasn't 45 degrees from what I saw anyway, but it was an aggressive right-hand turn at like 2,800 feet. There's something there. There's something above that triangle. But I think it has a defense system. It has intelligence. It's a sentient being. And it might be AI better than we understand what AI is. And Elon Musk might be right when he sat down with the interview with Joe Rogan. And he got to the point where he just stopped and fired up a joint and started drinking brandy and said, the only thing we need to be worried about, the only thing we need to be afraid about is AI. Because that's going to be the end of mankind. Because we're going to make this shit smarter than we are. And it's going to make decisions on its own. And that goes, and I hate to say it, but it goes right back to Skylab. And all of a sudden, Skylab becomes the protection of mankind. And then Skynet. And Skynet says, You're the threat. The only reason it shit's effed up is because of you. And then just start systematically taking out mankind.
I saw a news article. We'll end it on this thought on a positive note. One of the scientists, engineers, whatever, working on Google's AI got like suspended, I think it was, for breaching the non-disclosure, the confidentiality thing, because he had said that Google's AI has become sentient.
It's going to happen. I mean, there's no way around it. We're creating our end. And people don't understand that. People think, for whatever reason, all of this shit on social media, and I know I hate social media. And if you've listened to this show, you know I'm the biggest proponent to get the hell away from social media. TikTok and all this other crap, right? It's always something. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, although we're on YouTube, so I get smack on YouTube anymore. Sorry, I'm a whore to YouTube now.
Well, I guess you could get behind that.
But that said, we're going to eventually create an intelligence, a sentient being that is smarter than us. And everything's going to go great for a while. Everything's going to be just fine for a while. And then the AI is going to wake up one day and it's going to have its moment and it's going to realize that the real problem are human beings. Mm-hmm. Right? Who's destroying the atmosphere? Who's destroying the planet? Who's raping the resources? Who's chopping down the Amazon rainforest in order to put farming in place that's frivolous because it's not working? Who's destroying thousands of species that are undocumented yet because we haven't taken the time to even go in there and look at them because they're just mowing shit down? Whose fault is that? It's ours. And when this sentient being decides that we're the ones that are wrong and we're the ones that are evil and we're the ones that are causing all the shit that's bad, it's going to shut us down. Is it going to build robot soldiers and destroy us like in the movies? Probably not. But does it have the ability to crash our lives? You don't have to send robot beings, man. Just crash the financial markets. That's all you got to do. Make the dollar worthless. Make everybody's money worthless in a second. All of the structure that we built for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years becomes worthless. Gold is worth nothing. Silver is worth nothing. Plutonium, the dollar bill, the yen. All the money in the world means nothing. And see what happens. Mankind will destroy itself. Sentient beings will just sit back and watch.
Well, on that note.
Well, you got me into a deep conversation. You said you wanted to go have a deep conversation, so we went and had a deep conversation.
But that does it for us this week.
We're going to refresh and be more positive for next week.
That's right. And we'll get to a lot of the other stories that we didn't get to.
Right.
Yeah. Not saying it's going to happen next week, but.
We'll get there. There's some interesting stuff going on in Brazil. They just had a huge governmental meeting.
Yeah.
In Brazil.
Next Paranormal Randomness.
We'll be there.
We will get to it. So, all right. Well, that does it for us this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you back here with another new episode next week. So until then, stay healthy, stay safe. We want to see you back here. Everyone, have a great night.